It's Wednesday, so it must be time for the word of the week. And our word of the week this week is συνιημι. Συνιημι is a me conjugation verb, as you can tell by the pronunciation and the mu iota at the end of it. The me conjugation verbs are prevalent in classical Greek. By the time we get to the Koine period, the me conjugation verbs are falling out of the language and are being replaced with what we would think of as omega ending verbs. But here we have one that prevailed into the Koine period. Συνιημι means I understand, I comprehend, or I realize. The root concept, and this is very important in this verb, is to bring things or people together. That's the soon part. Or it means to come to an agreement. Built into the word is the concept of putting pieces together into a whole. We're going to look at 4 quick examples. First up is kind of a textbook example. It's in the book of Acts, and it's talking about Moses rationalizing the conflict between himself as a man killer and a leader appointed by God. So let's look at Acts chapter 7, verse 25. This is from the ESV with the Koine supplied. It's actually going to be 24 and 25, but the Koine word in question is in verse 25. And seeing one of them being wronged, he defended the oppressed man and avenged him by striking down the Egyptian. He supposed that his brothers would understand, συνιημι, that God was giving them salvation by his hand, but they did not understand, sunekon. So we have 2 occurrences of our word of the week in here. The first one up is an infinitive, συνιημι, and he had supposed that his brothers would put the pieces together, that they would understand that yes, he had killed a man, but it was to protect a fellow Hebrew, and it was not a bloodthirsty murder. He was acting in the interest of God's people. But then he says, as much as he hoped that they would put the pieces together, ultimately, συνekon, they did not put the pieces together. They did not understand initially that he could be both a killer of an Egyptian and God's appointed leader for the Exodus. Let's carry on and look at Ephesians chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand, συνιήτε, what the will of the Lord is. Συνιήτε is an imperative, so he's telling them 2 imperative things. Don't be foolish or stop being foolish, and instead understand what the will of the Lord is. If you piece together what the will of the Lord is, you won't be foolish. That sounds like good advice, doesn't it? Next up, Romans chapter 15, verse 21. But as it is written, those who have never been told of him will see, and those who have never heard will understand. Sunesusin. This is a future tense form of our word of the week. Sunesusin, they shall understand. So despite not hearing about him, despite not having been told about him, they will observe things in the world, they will experience things, and they will put together the pieces and come to understand about him. And finally, my favorite, Mark chapter 7, verse 14. And he called the people to him again and said to them, hear me, all of you, and understand. So let's look at the quote from Jesus. Ακούσατε μου. So here's an imperative. Ακούσατε, you plural, hear, mu, me, pantes, all. So hear me, all, kai sunete, and understand, and put together what you've heard me say. So what is he telling them? He's telling them to hear what he's about to say, but not just to comprehend the words, but to put it together, to make a whole out of it, to implement it into their practices. Don't just hear the words, but put the pieces together in order to act on them, to implement them as a plan for how you're going to live. It's not enough to just hear it. You have to put it together and act on it. Great stuff, isn't it? So what's our word of the week? Συνιημι. I understand, I comprehend, I realize, always, always with the notion built into it of putting things together, whether it's bringing people together, concepts, ideas, putting the pieces together into a whole so that, because the whole is more than the sum of its parts. Συνιημι. I understand. I put it all together and do something with it. Thanks for watching. I hope that was good for you. If it was, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Check out my other channel, So What Scripture. And until next time, Karas Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.